I believed all along that we could go wherever we wanted to go, as long as everyone believed it. I mean, he told me the first day I ever met him, Purple's going to Pasadena.
I believed in them as much as I knew they believed in themselves.
For this season to turn out the way it did, it's like a dream come true.
We were relentless in the way that we prepared.
And I think that's what we were in 95. We were forced to continue.
He's at the 10! He's in for the touchdown!
As it is called, the Cinderella story. Well, we've had all the romance. Now let's find out if she can dance. Northwestern opened the 1995 season by shocking Notre Dame. That led to an appearance in the top 25 for the first time since 1971. By a quirk in the schedule, the Wildcats had a bye the following week, which meant 2 weeks to live in glory before their home opener against Miami of Ohio.
So I think that bye week sucked because it gave us too much time to hear all this hype. And you wouldn't think that a team that had lost for as many seasons as we had lost would get full of their own press clippings, but I don't think it helped us in terms of staying focused.
We probably were feeling ourselves a little more than we should have. And how could you not be, right? We're human. We had just shocked the world. We had everybody in Evanston and Chicagoland area just buzzing.
All of a sudden it went from, like I said, no one talking about us to everybody talking. I mean, we're doing phone interviews on the radio driving back from South Bend to Chicago. And I think a majority of the guys who made plays, me in particular, I hadn't been on a radio interview before. So probably too much attention, too much too fast.
I think it would be hard in today's world to understand what that frenzy was like, because they're just, now there's so much attention around everything. I mean, then there weren't all these mediums. What mediums were? Northwestern was the story. I mean, our campus was packed with everyone who wanted to write a story about the first week of college football, and it was the biggest upset that anyone could remember.
I had always felt that if they ever won, that the city would get behind them, that people would love the story of a program that had done things right, that had tried and not been able to get it done. And if they ever did it, then people were going to get behind him. And it happened probably more dramatically than I thought, because within 24 hours, they weren't just the biggest story in Chicago. They were the biggest story, I think, in college football, maybe in sports that weekend.
Obviously, being on the quarter system, we didn't have the academic classes, and so the demands were a little bit different, and you don't have social media, and you don't have some of those things. So it was a very different world, but we certainly we enjoyed ourselves. We felt good about ourselves. Maybe we felt too good about ourselves.
In our team meeting, I just remember Barnett saying, "Hey guys, don't read the papers. Don't get caught up in this media hype. It's just one game." We were excited. Everybody was patting us on the back, and we've got the nation's attention.
I don't feel that we had any lack of preparation. I think we still did what we normally do that week going into it. But maybe we weren't as focused on the little detail things as we should have been.
At the Miami 43, Schnurl handed off on a delay. Darnell Autry trying to get to the outside. He does. 35, 30, 25 to the 20, and rolled over inside the 20. First down, Northwestern. Johnny Williams saved a touchdown. 24-yard gain for number 24. Second and 17 at the Miami 27-yard line. Steve Schnurr on second and long, short drop, now rolling right, now looks to the left, throwing for Bates, open, touchdown! They hit Bates in stride, streaking down the sideline inside the 5.
You don't really want a week off until about 2/3 through the season, and you're beat up and you do need a day off. But once you have a big game like that, you need to take advantage of that momentum that got created, or that we created. So no, that would not have been ideal. And the probably the biggest challenge is that we got treated like royalty for 2 weeks, for 13 days, like we never had before.
I think it was probably indication of what was to come when, Good Morning America on Monday wanted to talk to Steve Schnurr.
Brad Hurlbo was our sports information director at the time. He was new to Northwestern. But in the short period of time that we'd gotten to know each other, he clearly was a prankster. So he had called me that night before and said, listen, you need to be dressed in a suit. We're going to go downtown and do Good Morning America, super early in the morning. And
I called him that night before to remind him, and he's like, I'm good. I'm a hunter. I get up early in the morning. And for some reason, he's not sure. He's thinking that I'm making this whole thing up, right? And so he says, I was still kind of thinking I was going to come out front and it was all going to be because everybody played jokes on each other like that.
I thought he was pranking me, and eventually we got through all that. Although when I was standing outside on Dempster, and I think we lived at Dempster and Ridge at the time, I was standing out there in the morning thinking, there's not going to be a freaking limo show up. I'm standing out here looking like an idiot. But sure enough, they did. We went downtown and had to put a suit on and sit in front of a camera and get on there with Regis and Charlie Gibson. They had this back and forth going. It was wild.
He's got a man open. Autry makes the catch inside the 10 to the 5 into the end zone. Touchdown! Darnell Autry caught the ball out in the left flat, turned it upfield and took it in, and the Wildcats have a 13-0 lead.
Again, sound protection by the offensive line up front. They rotated at Notre Dame because of the fact they have 9 to 10 in depth on that offensive line, and they're all protecting Steve Schnurr so far in the early part of this game. Great protection, able to throw that ball on a dime.
Sam Valenzizi on to attempt the point after touchdown with Paul Burton holding. Here's the snap, the placement, the kick is up, and it is good. Make it 39 in a row for Valenzizi and make it Northwestern 14, Miami nothing. 3:49 to go, first period.
The Foundation Expect Victory is brought to you by Wintrust, Chicago's bank and official bank of Northwestern Athletics, and by Athletico Physical Therapy, better for every body.
So the punter Cheney back 5 more yards. Musso now standing at his 20. Low end over end. Musso a chance to return. Takes it in stride, runs into his own man, and Brian Musso is up near midfield.
The Miami game went as scripted for about 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters. We were moving the ball well.
I felt like the coaching staff did a good job of refocusing us. But I don't know that we really knew how to win on a week in and week out basis. And winning is a skill that teams develop. And certainly with Miami, we got out quick and we were way ahead of them early. So it wasn't like we came into the game flat. We came into the game ready to play.
Miami gets that part of their game in gear.
Schnurr back to pass, going long, down for Bates. He has the ball, touchdown!
And 2 defenders threw a short Hail Mary. Steve has a strong arm. He can throw 70, 80, and he flossed it up. And as I'm running, I'm looking at defenders knowing I have a height advantage. I'm at least 4 or 5 inches taller than both of these guys. I got a high vertical jump. But before that, we've never really in practice or a game had kind of a jump ball type of play. Maybe in practice a few times, but not at that. That was a huge moment to take a chance. And, for me, when I jumped up, I just saw an opportunity, man, to really make a play, from a quarterback or offense for our team. I felt this was a chance for Dwayne Bates to just make a dynamic wide receiver play. And, yeah, it came out great. Caught it, was tackled, and just flipped right into the goal line for a touchdown. And I just think at that moment, we were dominating the game because of plays like that. That's why we never would have foreseen what the fourth quarter, what that would look like based on what we have done to that point.
Darnell Autry tackled for a loss. 2:20 left to go in the half. Schnurr, quick drop to Sant Waterman out of bounds at the 26-yard line. Stepping up to the Big Ten style, though, out of the Mid-American Conference. Schnurr. This is not Adrian Autry. This is the number 37 for A.G. Leary. Burton is punting with a win. Rush is on. The block is successful. Loose football inside the 10. It's a touchdown for Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, I was a personal protector on the punt team. And so as things are starting to snowball, at one point we have to punt the ball away yet again because we couldn't stimulate any offense and kept giving them opportunities and opportunities. And there was this one punt where I'm calling the signals, call the blocking scheme. The snap goes back. I engage my guy, and you hear the famous boom, boom, which is never good when you hear two of those because that means he kicked it and it got blocked by somebody, and lo and behold, they were gone.
And in the space of 4 seconds, the Redskins from Miami of Ohio have crawled back into this game, and Gary Barnett got some thinking to do. And that is a youngster by the name of Sam Ricketts. He will open at quarterback, Bill, for Miami of Ohio starting the second half.
Here's the kickoff by Valenzizi. Henderson circles under it at the 5-yard line. He's out across the 10 to the 15, bumps into his own man around the 20, and gets shoved back all the way back to the 10-yard line. There were bodies flying everywhere. Ricketts will hand it off. Dylan McCullough gets a hole off the right side, bounces off a would-be tackler, trying to get to the outside. William Bennett finally pulls him down. Hall to the right on second down. Short drop by Ricketts. He fires. Intercepted by the Wildcats. Rodney Ray is going to score a touchdown. And the Wildcats score. Rodney Ray takes it in, third touchdown of his career.
Ron Vanderlanden had come up with this really good call that he'd identified in watching the tape. And he knew that when we got a certain formation that I believe they like to go to this combo route, or they have this concept that we could sort of overload and have Rodney sit hard on and be able to jump the route. And I believe that's exactly what we had practiced it all week. And we're like, hey, if we get this call, and I think Bennett or Total E-Call had to make the check with them. And it's like, when you get this check, I mean, there's no hesitation. You know this is coming. Go make the play. Rarely do you get, things that just as it worked out in practice all week doesn't unfold that way in the game. But in this particular case, it actually happened exactly like you had said.
That was probably good and bad. Good because it put more points on the board. Bad because I think the players thought the game was over. And when you allow your mind to shift like that, if something bad happens, it could snowball on you if you're not able to snap back. And we weren't able to snap back.
Northwestern Wildcats roaring to a 28-7 lead.
Darnell was having a good game. Steve Schnurr was throwing touchdown passes all over the place. I think Rodney Ray had a pick six, if I'm not mistaken, and they got up 28-7, and it looked great.
Coming into that game, I think Miami, Ohio was the number 1 ranked defense in the nation. I mean, I think they were giving up an average of -7 yards rushing. They had shut some team down the week before. But we knew they had talent. We knew they were a talented team, and but we felt we were a better team.
You talk about confident, even cocky, and understanding like, oh, we're going to beat this team. We just beat Notre Dame, and we're going to beat this team, get out of our way. We have other games to go to. But again, the key thing about a college football season is that you take it 1 week at a time, one play at a time. And that's what Coach Barnett really had to harp on us, like, hey, one play at a time. Yeah, Coach, we got that. That sounds great, but we're playing on Miami, Ohio. Come on. And we were crushing them, beating them up.
We were in the days where your short snapper and long snapper was oftentimes one of the players that was a starter on offense or defense. And so Paul Janis was our snapper. And early in that game, he broke his hand. And then Larry Curry came in and he was the backup long snapper, but he was also a starting defensive lineman or played a lot. That's one of the reasons that certainly now we have a full-time long snapper, and that's all he does.
I don't remember that I missed a field goal, although I know what happened. we didn't execute. We just didn't execute. And that wasn't just a special teams thing. It was across the board.
You know, here they were ranked for the first time and with a big lead, playing at home. And maybe they just kind of felt like, okay, we got this thing. And give Miami a lot of credit. They fought back.
There you see the numbers for Ricketts. Neil Doherty, if you're tuning in late, he started, played the entire first half, saved one play. And Ricketts has taken over for the injured starter Doherty here in the second. Fitzgerald to tackle.
Well, anytime you got a backup coming in, right, probably not a guy that you studied on tape or that you talked about or that you game planned for. So it's a little bit of the unknown. You can't crystal ball what they're going to do. But I think you kind of react and play football. There's a reason at that point he's a backup, right? So typically he's not as good as the starter. But I think sometimes that can provide for wrinkles, just the way he can, do things differently.
They were a chatty bunch, man. They were talking the whole time, even when they were down big. It just was weird. They would not give up, which was to their credit.
For some odd reason, they had momentum. And when a team has momentum, plays that they probably could not convert, a first down, a catch, a tackle, a turnover, somehow they were making all the right plays.
We got really high on ourselves, and momentum is a funny thing. When you got it, it's great. When you lose it, it's hard to recapture, and it was like a snowball going downhill.
3rd and goal at the 3. Ricketts throws quickly, a little fade in the end zone, touchdown. Off balance catch, nice catch by Jay Hall for the touchdown as the Redskins go 55 yards in 8 plays. Here's the snap, the kick is up, and it is good. 11:14 remaining, and the Redskins have cut the Wildcats' lead back down to 14 points.
We just hit that point in the game where it's like putting the balls and the bats in the bag, and it's the 7th inning, and you don't do that, and that's pretty much what happened. I mean, it was so easy for us that we didn't know. We weren't far enough along to know that you have to keep your foot on the throttle.
We were kind of substituting some other guys in there, and so as a result, I think some of the players, especially the guys that got substituted for, kind of started to think the game was over. But the game is never over until 0-0-0 on the clock.
I remember being on the sidelines and I had unstrapped my shoulder pads, like this is it, like we're good to go, I should be done, and that was not the case.
Thinking back on it, guys were joking around about what we were going to do after the game, and again, I think you got to get back to what made us believe that we could win in the beginning, which was, there's that fine line between winning and losing, and for so long we had been on the losing end of that and been in games until the 3rd quarter, the 4th quarter. And that's exactly what we did. We got on the other side of that and felt like we made it, we're done, and guys were starting to check out.
Ricketts rolling left, dumps for the end zone, touchdown to Atkins. Jeremy Atkins wide open in the back of the end zone.
The effect of the misdirection, they caught Northwestern in a blitz. The blitz came opposite of the play-action pass.
And if you're a Northwestern fan, you've got to feel more than a tad uncomfortable about the way things have suddenly gone.
The wheels fell off. I mean, it was an avalanche that we had no idea how to stop. I mean, everything that we had done great in the first 3, the 4th quarter, we did everything wrong. Turnovers, couldn't execute plays, defense couldn't get a stop. We couldn't convert a 3rd down. We had bad special team plays that just, and all Miami, Ohio did was give them credit. They capitalized on our mistakes.
It was like being in a drain sewer that was going around, and there's nothing to grab onto as you're going down there.
As an athlete, when you lose your edge, you're done. And in that game, mentally, we lost our edge. We got high on ourselves. We thought the game was over. We thought we had it in hand. And Miami of Ohio had different thoughts.
So now having the wisdom that I have working for Randy Walker, the great years that I did, and God rest Coach's soul, I mean, we played right into the Randy Walker coach trap.
Ty King, touchdown, Miami of Ohio.
They're going for 2.
Long count. Into the corner. Man is open. They overthrow him. Eric Henderson, they overthrow him. Henderson pleading his case for interference, but no. Hudefa Ismaili was on the coverage.
Just like it felt inevitable that we were going to win the week before, once those mistakes started coming, it felt inevitable like we were going to lose and find a way to lose, which happened. I mean, the game was over and we had the ball with 30 seconds left. Just run out the clock. It still felt like we were going to find a way to lose, which we did.
We had the ball. We were in our 4-minute offense, and we got a first down. We got the ball out to near midfield. And with around 30 or 40 seconds left, we went to punt the ball and really felt like our defense would be able to hold, given the fact that Miami had one timeout left.
You talking about the botched snap? I don't remember it. I don't remember it. I don't even know what you're talking about.
That snap gets past Burton. Burton chasing it down inside the 5, picks it up, and he's tackled at the 1-yard line. And with 43 seconds to go, Miami's in position to win the game.
Things happen, and that's what happens. You know, you just never know. And this is the point that I think Coach Burnett was trying to make. The kicking game can win or lose a game. And that was an example of how when it doesn't go right, it can lose a game for you.
I'm speechless. Well, that thing almost rolled into the end zone. Look at Burton. He can't get a hold of that thing. Of course, he's got to gain possession. He does so at the 1.
One of the stories that is a little bit not told is my good friend from Grand Rapids, Michigan, Tom Hoffman, was the official, and he was the line judge in that game. But we were friends, and we actually went out on Friday for dinner, Friday evening. And so, I really thought that we were in great shape with the call. So at the end of the game, when Miami of Ohio goes for the quarterback sneak, we stop them. And the clock is running, as we all know, 8, 7, 6. So Tom Hoffman comes into the pile, and we are holding down the runner. We are holding him down. And he says with about 10 seconds left, hey, you got to let him up. 8 seconds left. You got to let him up or I'm going to stop the clock. And we didn't let go. And all of a sudden, he goes ahead and stops the clock with, 5, 6 seconds left, allowing Miami of Ohio to get their field goal team up because they were at that time were then out of timeouts.
And the clock has 3 seconds on it. Sights for Miami of Ohio to pull off the upset. 0 for 2 today. Bad snap. Kick is up. It is good. Trossel did his job, and Miami of Ohio has pulled it off.
I remember Coach Burnett coming up to me afterwards in the locker room and putting his arm around me. He says, "We're going to get better." You know, his confidence in me was very father figure-like. It was beautiful, and he let me know that this is not going to define us.
He felt responsible. Everybody felt responsible. You know, every coach felt responsible. Every kid felt responsible, and yeah, we were responsible. But what do? You got to pick it up and go on.
I got done doing the post-game show, and I looked out at the field, and it was such a letdown. And I just sat there for probably, half an hour, just staring out at the field and thinking, are we ever going to get that moment? You know, is it just not going to happen here?
You know, after the game, we were all stunned. I mean, we were all stunned. And anybody tells you they weren't, they're lying to you. We were all shocked. We were shook. I just remember after the game, I launched my helmet. It may still be somewhere in Ryan Field now, in the air.
They out-hustled us. They out-hit us. They out-coached us. They outplayed us in this game. And it was evident to me on the sideline as things were unfolding. We were making some big plays. And really, I thought our defense was in control, but we were giving up some big plays, and we were never in control of that game, I didn't feel. Even when Rodney intercepted that pass.
A lot of people, when that pick for a touchdown happened on the first play of the second half or whatever it was, a lot of football teams would have fizzled right there. Because you get them all hepped up in the locker room, hey, we're still in it, we're still in it, we're still in it, and bang, you give up 7 real quick. And I was worried about how well we'd hang in there. I know there's something special about our kids at the end of a game because they do this all the time. This isn't a once-in-a-while thing. We are going to play hard till it says 2 zeros on the clock.
How tough will it be for you guys to come back this week against the Air Force?
Not very tough at all. Like I said, we're a good ball club. We'll regroup. Coaches will regroup us, and we'll group ourselves, and we're excited to play them.
Oh, I expect them to respond very favorably. I expect this to be a good, hard week of practice. We'll have their attention, and I expect them to come out and flat out undo what they did.
We just lost to Miami of Ohio. What just happened? And then the other thought is like, oh no, this next week is going to be rough.
Game 3 brought the Air Force Academy to Evanston, a team that, like the Wildcats, had been knocked out of the top 25 with a loss in its previous games. A year earlier, the Wildcats needed a late defensive stand to escape with a victory in Colorado Springs. This time would be a different story.
Dyke Stadium, Evanston, Illinois, as we get set for the Wildcats and the Falcons of Air Force. Picture perfect day, and we welcome you to Evanston. Hi, everybody. Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson.
Coming out of the Miami game, people were very, very down. I think the good news is we had enough good leadership, one within the team, two with our coaching staff to really talk about putting it behind us.
All of a sudden the doubters come out, right? It's like, hey, we told you so. It was a fluke against Notre Dame. They're back to being a Wildcats, all that stuff. And I will give ultimate credit to Gary Barnett because he was able to pull us back together and to motivate.
I'd come up with these ideas. I'd go for a long run every day, and it was usually at noon. And all the coaches and the GAs knew that once I left for a run that anything could happen and I got back. And so I'd walk into the meeting room and they go, "Did you just finish your run?" I said, "Yeah, I got a great idea." He'd kind of come up to me. He'd always have some sort of outlandish request. So he says, "I need you to get me a coconut, and I need you to get me a chain, about a 20-foot chain, and I need you to screw it into the coconut. I need you to cut a hole into it in that coconut so that you can get your fist in there."
Barnett was a great storyteller, and he tells a story in the Monday meeting after that game about, and I'll probably get it wrong, but about a tribe over in Africa that trapped monkeys and sold them that's how they made their money. And they would take a coconut and they would get a chain and tie it to a tree, and they'd hollow out the coconut and put a little Oreo or something in there.
And they grabbed onto it and they clasped it. They couldn't get their hand out of the jar, so they would literally be stuck. And the only way that they could get away from that, the only way they could escape the hunters, is they had to let go.
So the analogy, of course, was that Miami of Ohio was the cookie, and we had to let go of that cookie. Don't let Miami of Ohio beat you twice.
It was a very easy choice. Were we going to be the team that beat Notre Dame, or were we going to be the team that lost to Miami of Ohio? And we ultimately decided that was going to be a signature game.
A lot of great lessons early on in that team that I think as we move forward throughout the season end up being reasons why we ended up winning close games, why we ended up winning games that, maybe we would have lost if we played them week 2, quite frankly, because we hadn't learned that lesson against Miami.
Probably the best thing for us was that we were getting back on the horse and we were playing the next week. We could do something about it. 2 weeks was probably a long time in between Notre Dame and Miami to handle, everybody telling you how good you were. 1 week in between games was probably just enough to tolerate people telling you that you weren't as good as you thought.
I think it was a blessing to lose that game, to be honest. I don't know if the season goes the way it did without it. I'm sure a lot of people say that. I think partly because the game really, our goal was to go to the Rose Bowl. And to do that, you have to win the Big Ten. And so losing to Miami of Ohio, it didn't really matter that much. And it felt horrible at the time, but in practicality, we could refocus really quickly on running the table in the Big Ten and accomplishing what we really set out to accomplish. So it was the right game to lose. I think the team came into the next week incredibly refocused, and I think that never stopped.
We got back to grassroots. We started putting in the work. We started, making sure that we engage in that blue-collar mentality, and we focused on finishing.
The year before, we had gone out to Colorado Springs and played out there in the altitude, and were fortunate enough to come away with a victory we probably shouldn't have had. So it was really easy for us to focus on Air Force. We knew they were going to come back with similar schemes that they had the previous year that we struggled with, so we had the experience of playing against them. I remember pretty clearly that we just went back to basics for us. And basics for us at that time was hand the ball off to Darnell, hand the ball off to Darnell, hand the ball off to Darnell.
Balancese is going to try a 46-yard field goal here. They got that snap there, the hold down, the kick on the way, and he got it. Everything picture perfect there for the opening points of the ball game. Jake Campbell back deep. Balancese's kick is short and high. Jake's going to run up on it. So takes it on one hop, got a nice bounce, and now he got through the first wave and out to the 31-yard line. Over 6 yards and 5 touchdowns. Here on the pitch for the first time today, and a fumble. Northwestern's got a chance, and they've got the ball, and it's William Bennett.
And you could tell that was going to be an option play. I believe there was a big play by either our outside linebacker or safety who came up and hit him right before he was going to make the pitch and just knocked the quarterback off, and the ball just went bouncing. And, of course, there I am, like wide-eyed, like, hey, a toy, let me go get it. And I went down, I scooped up the ball, and I just saw the touchdown. But then in the corner of my eye, I remember the quarterback diving for my knee. And instead of me just stiff-arming him and, stepping on him, I jumped. And he took my legs out and ended up landing on my back. And, of course, it was a fumble recovery. Everyone's excited. But what people don't know is the next day or the next 2 days when we're watching film on the game and the coach is breaking it down like, Bennett, all right, so here's Coach Gary Barnett. Hey, Bennett, good that you recovered the fumble. But next time, score a touchdown. You let a quarterback tackle you. And for the whole week, I'm just getting razzed by all these guys. Oh, man, you got to tackle a quarterback. Yeah.
Autry and Hartle give Autry behind his fullback. Touchdown, Northwestern. Taking advantage of the Air Force turnover. Extra point up and good with 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. First quarter.
The Foundation Expect Victory is brought to you by Wintrust, Chicago's bank and official bank of Chicago's Big Ten team, and by Coca-Cola, proud partner of Northwestern Athletics.
10-3 Northwestern. Kurt Krebser to kick off. Adrian Autry from the 4. I'll make it Dave Beasley, excuse me.
I think it was really important for them to come back against a good Air Force team, a team they had beaten, I think the year before, out in Colorado Springs on a 90-plus yard fumble return. So, and it was a close game. They expected this to be a battle.
But you think about Air Force and the discipline they bring to their game. Maybe they were undersized. Maybe we had, slightly better athletes, but we always knew we were in for a fight and that those guys would never give up. But we showed what kind of team we intended to be for the rest of that season.
It's great playing service academies in the sense that you got a lot of respect for who they are and what they go through. They're tremendous competitors on the field. They don't quit till the end, and it's obviously you want to win, but you have a lot of respect for playing against them.
Air Force is relentless. They're undersized. They never give up. They ran the triple option offense, and then they ran some schematic stuff on defense that was just challenging to block, right? No matter how many times you knock those guys down, they always got up. They always came with the same intensity level every single play. It was it's mentally and physically exhausting to play that way.
Balancese in for a 26-yard attempt. He's already hit one today from 46. Everything perfect again with a kicking game, something that Northwestern wishes it could have said a week ago. Valancici set to kick. Tobin Ruff is back deep for Air Force. And an onside kick. Who's going to cover it? Northwestern says they have it, and they do. Don Holmes is the man that covered it at the 46 of Air Force. Autry into the secondary. Spins his way inside the 30 and down the sideline, bumped out of bounds at the 24.
Despite the fact that I'd had a kick blocked against Miami, in my own mind, that wasn't my fault. It was, but it wasn't. I was able to flush that away. I had learned well enough to put that behind me, and was on a roll. I was going to make eventually 13 in a row as the season went on, but I felt every time I walked out there was no way I was going to miss, and that's a level of confidence that I had, and I hope that it instilled in others that when I went out there, it was they could count on 3 points. That's a big difference when you played games the way we did, where we were trying to control the ball. I'm not saying keep the score low, but try to maximize our offensive output. It's a big deal every time you get 3 points. And when on the other sideline, they know that when I came out on the field, they should just get their kickoff return team ready because we were going to make it and I was going to kick off.
Little Sam might be on his way to Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week the way things are going so far. Boy, the special teams weren't a week ago, and they know it. And they have really come back and shown dramatic improvement this week. Jake Campbell from the goal line. Trying to get outside. Jake cuts it across the 20 out to about the 23-yard line. Colorado State, we will against Northwestern. So here's Brown, and down he goes. Hello, Pat Fitzgerald.
And this time on a stunt, he comes right up into the gap, and Air Force had a pass play on, which was a little bit of a change-up for Tommy Brown, which probably would have fooled the defense, but it doesn't fool him when your linebacker's sitting on top of him.
Nikita Addison in the backfield. Here's Brown on a quarterback draw. What can he do against the linebacker? Well, he's pretty quick, but boy, he got tagged and he fumbled. So 3rd down and 5 following the timeout. Brown on the option, and down he goes. Fitzgerald again. Yep. Nice hit.
We thought we picked up on some of the things that they were doing prior to the game, and then early in the game, we were able to solidify that. And so you'll see me make a bunch of plays unblocked in that game. That had nothing to do with me doing anything spectacular besides following the game plan Ron Vanderlyn had put together, and then trusting our film prep and being able to go make some plays.
Halftime here at Northwestern, and on their home turf, the Wildcats lead 16-6. Back in Evanston, Northwestern at halftime, leading the Falcons of Air Force 16-6.
I was probably more nervous for the Air Force game than all the other games, because Air Force runs that option. They run it as well as anybody. And, it takes a whole lot of discipline to defend that.
Air Force is always tricky no matter where you play them. You know they're going to be well coached, disciplined. They don't beat themselves, don't make a lot of mistakes. And with their type of football, we had a lot to prepare for.
And fortunately, I was really tuned into that offense. I learned the offense from the Air Force coaches. We ran that offense at Colorado.
Coach Barnett fancied himself on top of Ron Vanderlyn as a option stopping guru. So Coach Barnett was with us that week running half line option stuff as a defense. And we had studied over the whole offseason Air Force's offense.
3rd and 10, a big one for Air Force here at the Northwestern 35. Throwing on the run is intercepted by Fitzgerald.
I was wide open, and I hit me right between the 5 and the 1. I dropped a lot of other interceptions. That was one that I was wide open, so thank goodness that I caught it. And I tried to go down as quickly as I could. I was not, guys try to score now and look to pitch it. It was like, I caught it, I'm going down.
Oh, my gosh. Grading his hands or his speed? Let's see. Which one is better? No, I sent a little shot over the bow of Fitzy. No, I tell you, Fitz is, he's one of those guys, just football-wise, kind of a beautiful mind. He got it. He could see the play before it unfolded. and where he may have lacked in some areas athletically, he could make up for it with football aptitude. And that was one of those plays where he saw that, knowing where to be, being able to read and diagnose, understanding passing lanes.
2nd and 17, screen to Autry. Darnell down the sideline. Wow.
A screen play. They've been throwing downfield all along. DeRock puts a little bit of pressure on him, but Autry just goes full speed. Now watch, he knows there's nowhere to go. I'm going through him this time, and boom! Picks up the spare and about 4 more yards afterward.
That was not necessarily a run that you would expect in the, from a historical sense from Northwestern. But we were here to play, we were here to win, and we were going to take it to you. And he was amazing from that standpoint. I mean, he was about 215, 220 in size. He was a bigger guy, but very solid. And, you were never going to bring him down with the first hit, right? And so, and when he would do those things, I think a lot of us fed off of that, right? Because that gets you pumped up, motivated, inspired, and particularly as a fullback that's blocking for him, it makes you motivated to go out there and even create more creases for him to get the job done.
1st and goal at the 6, Northwestern. Extra tight end, and Darnell Autry to the end zone.
Here he is. Watch Chad Pugh, number 77, come around right here and get a key block. Pull your big guard around, fold down the blocks right there. There he is in the hole. He kicks out of the linebacker, and Autry's going to move right into the end zone.
Valenzizi in for the point after, and Sam got it up good. So Darnell Autry, a 2-touchdown game.
Anytime you play option football, it's assignment football, it's responsibility football, and they just wait for you to have one breakdown.
A lot of it depends on the defensive end, right? Is being disciplined, and discipline was not my middle name, right? It was not my trademark as a young player. As an older player, I think I developed some, but as a younger player, it was not my thing, right? But you really had to stay down and slow down.
Brown didn't even look to his pitch man, but he pitched it on a fumble to Northwestern. Fitzgerald with a fumble recovery after Sutter made the hit.
We were a very opportunistic defense. It seemed like we had like 1 million turnovers throughout the season, and that's all part of things that we worked on. We worked on getting turnovers, punching the ball out.
It was a fun day. I mean, when you play an option team as a linebacker, I mean, you're just salivating. It's one of those days that you go back, like, put extra air in the helmet. You're going to be sore.
And really, we grew. We realized on offense, I think Coach Barnett and Coach Myers, our coordinator, we realized, wow, we really do have weapons. We really can open up the offense. Still going to run through our running game. We got a Heisman candidate to be. We knew we had an All-American running back, but that game really showed that we could truly diversify our offense.
We got to a point where we were leading by enough. It was the first time in 4 years that I actually watched from the sidelines about midway through the 4th quarter. And some of our backups got a chance to play. Usually we were on the opposite end of that spectrum. So it was fun to play in that game.
It was amazing, really, to hold them to 6 points. But I remember the stat sheet. I mean, we held them under 100 yards rushing, I believe, which was unbelievable.
Air Force, I think, was probably a top 5 rushing team in the country. They stopped them. And they ran the ball on them. And, I think it was another indication of how good Darnell Autry was going to be that year and how good their defense was going to be. And I think that was a really significant win against a quality team.
I think, the coaches are always trying to put blinders on the players. It's all about the next game. Forget what everyone's saying, forget the hype, forget the attention. It's just about this week. It's about the next challenge. And that's every coach from the beginning of time. His challenge is to get a bunch of young people to get laser focused on the one task in front of them. And we went through a string of wins that's probably very unusual in the history of college football. And I don't remember thinking anything about them once they were over it. It was just the next one.
That's a good ball club that we just played. And, you know, I think you just saw a whole week's worth of people being mad unleashed.
Impressive victory for Gary Barnett and his Wildcats of Northwestern. They go to 2-1.
That's nice. I mean, it's real nice. I mean, I think it should be 3-0. But if Miami ends up being our wake-up call, you know, it's almost a blessing in disguise. I mean, we're going in as a force, you know, as a team to be reckoned with. I mean, this Air Force team was a good team.